Hey, I'm Lindsay Lyman. I worked almost 12 years at Amazon and saw so many brilliant and successful overachievers burn themselves out and leave their jobs because they're so stressed and anxious. But guess what? Having a successful career does not have to be at the expense of your mental sanity and personal time. There's an easier way, and I can show you how. Let's do this. Friends, how are you? All right, today's episode is short and sweet, but it's super important, okay? I want you to really think about this and how you can apply this week. We all make dumb, silly mistakes, okay? We are humans. We do it every day, multiple times a day. But I've been thinking about this concept a lot of when you make a mistake or screw something up, we have a tendency to go back and fix it. But today I want to tell you the 3 reasons why I don't recommend doing this and why it's actually a problem to go back and fix it and what you should do instead. Okay, the first reason this is slowing you down is because when you make a mistake and you go back and fix it, others are moving on and you're stuck in making things perfect. I want to give you a couple examples of what I mean by this. The first is if you think about playing the piano. Playing a piece by yourself that you're playing for yourself or for others is extremely different than if you are accompanying someone that is, let's say, singing a song. Very different approaches to this. When you're learning a new song on the piano, I've played piano for multiple years. So when I learn a new song and there's a section that I always kind of mess up, you go back and you practice it over and over and over again because you're trying to build that muscle memory of doing it the correct way. Because what happens when you're playing the piece and you do it wrong, your brain and your muscles know you're doing it wrong. So you stop and you go back and you fix it and you correct it. However, if you are playing the piano and accompanying someone that is singing a song, that person doesn't stop and go back to where you made the mistake. They keep going. You can't go back. And if you can't recover from your mistake, it's going to be hard for you to catch up to where that person is singing and jump back in to accompanying and playing that piece. You've got to learn how to acknowledge you made the mistake, but jump back in and keep going. Let me give you a work example of this. So in my almost 12 years at Amazon, I've done so many doc reviews, I can't even count them, right? It's no secret. When we have a strategy, we write a 1 to 2 to 6 page document to communicate that. As someone that has sat through and written hundreds of these documents, you get a lot of feedback. It's going to be things like, you lost me here, or do we have data to back up this claim, or how are we going to measure this, okay? If you are worried and focused on getting the document perfect, remember, reason number 1 why you're slowing down is others are moving on and you're stuck in making it perfect. If you're worried about going back and fixing this document and making it perfect, you will be stuck there forever. Documents are never done. The only reason we decide they're done is because we decide to stop changing it and just go and take action. This is why you have to give yourself a deadline of when the document is due. Otherwise, you will keep tinkering with it. And there are times when you need to go and update the document, but 9 times out of 10, what I found is myself or my team, we would spend significantly more time than we should have going back and fixing the dumb mistakes when it didn't actually impact the strategy or the learning. It just slowed us down from moving forward. So one of the things I found as I was presenting documents, and I would always get feedback, and some of it was great and helpful, and some of it I didn't necessarily agree with, but I would say, hey, I really appreciate this feedback. There's some really great things here. I'm going to add these learnings to the next strategy I write. Do you have any other feedback on the strategy? As it seems we're aligned and ready to move forward. Are we good? Right? I would specifically call out, I've heard you, I've taken the learnings, but I'm not going to spend the time to go and update revision 572 of this document. The document has served its purpose. It facilitated effective communication. We are clear and aligned on the strategy enough to keep moving forward. Let's move forward. So if you are constantly going back and fixing your mistakes, others are moving on and you are stuck in making it perfect. The second reason I think fixing your mistakes is slowing you down is learning how to get back on track is more important than going back and fixing the mistake. Because you're a human, you are going to make mistakes. If you're constantly trying to operate in a space where there are zero mistakes, that is a game you will not win. But if you refine the skill of learning and getting super good at how to even more quickly get back on track, you are going to be more successful. I learned this a lot as I've talked about. I love the game Beat Saber on the Oculus. It is so fun. I love music. I love moving my body. It's so fun. But what I've learned the most is when you make a mistake, the game keeps going. The blocks keep flying at you that you've got to slice open with that lightsaber. If you obsess and start to beat yourself up and get frustrated that you make a mistake, you make even more mistakes and you get further and further off track. But if you can just acknowledge you made a mistake and focus on getting back on track, you're going to do better at that level. I think of it the same way in a work setting. Let's say maybe you've had some sort of confrontation with someone at work. You don't agree on a strategy. Maybe they were late to deliver something that you were dependent on. There's some sort of confrontation. We all have people we don't love to work with. Okay? We've all been there. Now, be a good human. Apologize where you need to. Listen, try to work as effectively as you can with this person. But remember, we want to keep moving forward. We want to get back on track. If we obsess over fixing the mistake, it's going to keep us stuck. Keep being who you think you should be. Keep working with them. Keep being curious how you can improve the relationship. Keep believing that you're really good at things and that they're really good at things and that sometimes you're not going to agree and that's okay. You don't need to obsess over how they're feeling, if they're okay, if they're over it. Let them be them. Let them feel what they need to for as long as necessary. Focus on picking yourself up, being a good human along the way. You can't go back and undo that confrontation, but you can keep showing up every day as the type of person you want to be. Learning how to get back on track is significantly more important than knowing how to go back and fix the mistakes. And the third reason I think fixing your dumb mistakes is slowing you down is because what that does is it has you spending more of your time trying to change your weaknesses than focusing on your strengths. I'll give you a couple examples. I am a terrible speller. I know this. I could improve it. I have systems in place to try to help, but I've just kind of come to terms that I'm in my early to mid 40s. I'm just a bad speller. That's just part of me. I'm okay with it. I could spend hours triple checking things to making sure that it's spelled perfectly. Or I could double check things, do my best and call it good and make sure I'm keeping a healthy balance to keep my mental sanity in check so that I can keep focusing on being present and coaching my clients. That is where my strength is in helping people get unstuck is where my zone of genius is. Spelling things correctly is not. I want to work on improving that to a point, but spending my time obsessing over that isn't actually me doing what I do best to give back in the world. In a work setting, I see this so often with my clients and my friends where English is not their first language. If English isn't their first language, I see them spending so much time trying to get all the feedback to review their document before it goes to leadership because they want to make sure they're not making silly, dumb mistakes in grammar or how they're communicating things. They over practice their presentation. They obsess about how they're going to say it. They worry that they can't articulate things enough and that they're not doing it right. But what I would offer to you is if you focus on these silly mistakes, that aren't really even important. It's stopping you from focusing on your strengths. What we want is for you to be you. We want you to focus on the project, not on the exact words or tone or articulation of how it's delivered. What we want is your big, beautiful ideas and your amazingly smart brain. Because you know what? You are so incredibly talented and smart. You speak multiple languages. So why are we obsessing over getting that second language perfect for the person that language is their first language? If you're working for a company or a manager that is obsessing over little things, like if you're saying it quote unquote right, and this is your second language, get out. You are brilliant. You are smart. That company that wants you to say things quote unquote right, they want robots. We want you to be human. Spending more time trying to change those little things you're just not good at is slowing you down from focusing on what you are amazing at. My challenge for you this week is to spend more time focusing on moving forward, on getting back on track, on staying in your zone of genius. Don't focus on going back and fixing those little mistakes. Now, I'm going to warn you, the perfectionist side of you is going to hate this. And it's going to take some practice, and that's okay. But let's start making that perfectionist part of you frustrated instead of that human part of you frustrated. Perfection is not the goal. Learning to stay on track and stay focused on where you want to go is what's most important. So keep making those dumb mistakes. Let them be there. Don't go fix them. You're amazing. You have brilliant things to give. We need it. We want it. All right, y'all. That's what I got for you. You're amazing. We'll talk soon. If what you're learning from this podcast is helping, this is just the beginning. Each week, I offer a limited number of coffee chats so that you and I can connect one-on-one and talk specifically about what's going on for you. You'll leave this call feeling more hopeful and motivated, but I'm also going to teach you a few things to try right away to get unstuck. Space is very limited and these are free, so grab your spot before they're gone. Click the link in the show notes or go to lindsaylymancoaching.com/chat and sign up today. You got this.